Hello, I'm Ollie and this is Criminolly, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, trash. I'm doing a book haul and it's a very trashy one. So I keep on telling myself I'm going to stop buying books, and then I keep on buying books. So this one, I blame Garb August for this. So if you've not heard, and I'm sure you have because everyone is talking about it, there is going to be a reading event in August focusing on reading trash. And that has led me to buying lots of trashy books, including in this book haul tons of romance. So an unusual amount of romance for me, as in any, because I don't normally talk about romance at all on the channel. I've got some non-trashy books to go through as well though, so I'm going to go through those first and then we will get to the trash. Okay, so first up then in the non-trash pile, and I have these piled, I have little piles on my desk in front of me, one of non-trash, one of trash and one of romantic trash. So first one, this is one that my wife picked up for me, so Troublesome Words by Bill Bryson, who writes kind of slightly humorous and interesting popular non-fiction, I guess you'd say. So this is just a book about interesting words and you know how they came to be and things like that, so it looks quite fun. Next up, a bit of Michael Moorcock. So I've shown those lovely Saga Press Elric books in book hauls before now. This is a battered old paperback of one of my favourite Moorcock series, is the Oswald Bastable series, which is kind of a steampunk series about this guy who goes around in a big hot air balloon, from what I remember. So this is the first of those books, The Warlord of the Air, from I think the late 60s. Let's see when this is from. Oh no, 1971. So yes, a rather nice little edition of that. Next up, something new. You've Lost a Lot of Blood by Eric LaRocca, which I've actually read. So got this, I think it came through about a week ago, and I read it during the week, and it's really good. So I'll be doing a review of this one, which will go up at some point. I'm not entirely sure when. But yeah, an interesting horror story. So I wasn't a huge fan of LaRocca's novella, Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke. I thought it was a bit overrated, but this I liked a lot more. I thought it was really good. Next up, a library book. So Manhunt by, make sure I get her name right, Gretchen Felker-Martin. So this is a kind of gender apocalypse story with a focus in particular on trans characters. Say Kevy did a wonderful review of this a little while ago, which I'll try and remember to link to. I was kind of aware of it already, but having watched that review made me want to read it even more. So yeah, looking forward to that. I ordered that in from the library and it came in recently. Next up, another one that I have read already, so Liarmouth by John Waters. So again, this came in, well, since I did my last book haul, and I have read it, and it is very funny indeed. So John Waters is a film director of deliberately appalling and explicit films, focusing often around, you know, horrible people doing horrible things to each other in a funny way, basically. And this is very much in that vein. It was absolutely disgusting at times, but very, very entertaining indeed. And I think I'll probably do a review of this one as well. Next up, a book that was very kindly sent to me by a subscriber, Rick Croucher. So thank you very much again, Rick, for sending this. The Mammoth book of comic crime. So a selection of short crime stories, all of which are comic in nature. Got some great authors in here, including Donald D. Westlake and Lawrence Block, both of whom I really like. So very much looking forward to diving into this. As I've said recently on the channel, I'm really getting into short stories again and quite enjoying kind of reading a short story as part of my bedtime routine. So this looks like a fantastic addition for that. And then another one by John Waters. So this one I haven't read yet. So this was just super cheap. So I thought I'd buy it. I think I only paid about £1.50 for it. So it's a non-fiction book by John Waters about his escapades hitchhiking across America, and I think meeting various interesting characters along the way. It sounds absolutely fascinating, and I'm sure it will be very, very funny as well. So looking forward to that one. That was pointed out to me or highlighted to me by subscriber Trish Boval. So thank you, Trish. Yeah, I'd never heard of it. I have read some of his early non-fiction books, but I hadn't heard of this one. But she pointed sent it out to me, and I grabbed a copy of it. And then next up, 2 books which were very kindly sent to me by their publisher, Dave Brzezinski. Hopefully I've got your name right this time, Dave. I mispronounced it last time. So one is issue 8 of Occult Detective magazine. So I did feature both of these in my first Small Press Fridays video, but thought I would show them again in this book haul because I've not hauled them yet. So this looks like a fantastic kind of, well, I guess you call it calls itself a magazine, but it's a series of books basically, but has short stories and articles all themed around, you know, occult detectives, as the name would suggest. So this looks really good, and I'm very much looking forward to reading that. And then also by Bev Allen, Dave sent me a Solemn, Curfew and Other Dark Tales, which I'm going to dip into for week 4 of Horror Mayhem, and read some folk horror from it, because it's kind of got folk horror stories in it. It's got some nice illustrations as well, I just noticed. I haven't noticed those before. Yeah, that's rather nice, isn't it? So a nice horror short story collection that looks very good as well. So that's the non-trashy books gone through, which is probably about a quarter of the books that I've got in front of me. I'm just checking the time. Just checking I've got enough time before I need to get back to work. Right, so let's continue with the trash. So yeah, I'm filming this in my lunch break at work. So I'm going to do the non-romancy trash first. Then we'll have a quick ad break, and you can decide whether you want to come back after the ad break for the trashy romance or not. Okay, so trash. So Greg at Another Bibliophile Reads keeps on going on about these naughty westerns that he's got. So I thought I needed to get into the naughty western action. So I picked up this Longarm and the French Actress by Tabor Evans. Now clearly any book that advertises on the cover that it's got a French actress in it is going to be naughty, so I'm looking forward to that one. Next up, another Nick Carter book. So I showed a Nick Carter book in a previous book haul. This is another one with a similarly scantily clad lady on the cover. In fact, I think this lady's not clad at all. She's just holding her arms suitably to hide her modesty. So this is The Judas Spy. So this is a series of pulpy spy novels. Nick Carter is the character rather than the author. This one I got in the same eBay job lot as the Michael Moorcock book I just showed. So this is Jalav, Amazon Warrior, The Crystals of Mida by Sharon Green. I know nothing about this book at all, but that cover definitely looks trashy. So we shall see whether it's trashy or not. It's not. There's other books in this series as well. So if it's suitably trashy, I may even pick up other books in the series. This is one that I spotted someone talking about on Instagram, which sounds fantastic. So Guardian Angels by Mick Norman, which is a biker novel from the when's it from 1974, which I believe is set in the future, in that I think it's actually set in the 80s, which seems a bit random, but it's about a rock group doing a tour and getting the Hells Angels to be like security on the tour, which clearly is something that the Rolling Stones did to not very great success. So yeah, be interested to see what that's like. In that same science fiction haul, I picked up another copy of Tarnsman of Gore by John Norman. So this is the first of the Gore novels. So I do have this already. So I'm going to give this away at some point in the run up to Garb August. I'm going to do some trashy giveaways. So this will be included in one of those to help some unfortunate person start reading the Gore books. Next up, a book I'd heard about many times over the years, and I think there was a movie of this as well, and there were certainly other books in the series, but it definitely seems trashy to me. So it's from the late 60s. It is Coffee, Tea or Me, which is the uninhibited memoirs of 2 airline stewardesses, which I think is supposed to be a bit saucy and quite amusing as well. So that felt like a good book to get in for Garb August. I have a bit of non-fiction in there. How non-fiction it actually is, I'm not sure. I suspect parts of it are made up. Okay, next up, Skinhead by Richard Allen, again for Garb August. So I don't know how familiar people outside the UK are with kind of skinhead culture and the impact it had on Britain in the kind of 70s and 80s. But certainly it was something I was very aware of growing up, and there were kids I went to school with who had brothers who were skinheads. racism, appalling racism was definitely a part of it for many skinheads, if not all of them. And I think that does play a part in this book as well. So it's I think a trashy examination, or maybe pulpy is a better word, but yeah, a trashy examination of that kind of culture packed with kind of low rent sex violence and racism. So sounds good. And then got this lovely omnibus edition from one of the gods of trash, Harold Robbins. So this has 3 of his novels in it: The Betsy, The Storyteller, and The Pirate, together at last in one volume. So those are The Betsy is from 1971, The Pirate from 74, and The Storyteller from 85. So yeah, looking forward to diving into a bit of Harold Robbins. I've only read one of his books, one of his crime novels, Stiletto. I read years and years ago, but that's the only thing by him I've read. So yeah, looking forward to reading some Robbins for Garb August. So that's the end of the non-romance trash. So as advertised, we're going to have a quick break here. If you want to come back after the break and see some trashy romance, then please do. But if not, feel free to sign off now. But let me just show you the kind of things you're going to be missing out on if you leave now. So you will be missing out on things like this: A Candlelight Ecstasy Romance, Promise of Spring, which has on the blurb, so the blurb starts: widowed and wary, April Dubois thought she had everything she needed in Rusty, her 6-year-old son, and her chic Tulsa boutique. But from the moment Vic Leyland invaded her life, she was threatened by passions and fears she'd never known before. So come on, you've got to come back for that, haven't you? Right, welcome back. I have a veritable shitload of trashy romance in front of me, and actually one non-romantic trash book which I just discovered I had. So let me show you this as well. Hopefully it's not too reflective. It's in a plastic bag at the moment, which I am not going to take it out of. But it looks wonderful, doesn't it? Sharpshooter number 11, Triggerman by Bruno Rossi. Apparently Bruno Rossi now makes handbags. I'm not sure if that's the same Bruno Rossi. But when I searched for his books on eBay, there were loads of handbags. So this is a kind of mafia book. I think that cover is just wonderful. It's got a real 3D feel to it, hasn't it? I absolutely love that. So yeah, looking forward to reading that one. And thanks to Justin at This Just In, who turned me on to Bruno Rossi in our Boxer chat about Garb August. Right, so I'm going to go through all this romance. I'm going to go through it fairly quickly because there's a lot of it. But I will pluck some out and read the blurbs because some of the blurbs are great. So I've already shown this one. So A Promise of Spring by Jean Hager. It's an ecstasy romance, which I'm guessing means it's a bit naughtier than a non-ecstasy romance. So that should be good. Now this one's got a wonderful cover. Real classic 80s gym wear going on there. So this is Sweet Temptation by Lorian Blair. I'm going to read the blurb for this one because it is just appallingly fat-shaming and horrible. So a reminder that it's not just the kind of nasty trash that I read that can be politically awful. It's also kind of sweet romantic trash. So yeah, let me read you this and gauge your. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments. Candy is dandy, but an affair with architect Simon Farlow would be quicker and more instructive. Lucy Whitcomb, proprietress of the Sweet Tooth, was in a hurry to learn about love. After 25 years of too much indulgence in her own wares, she had finally slimmed down to an adorable size 8 and was ready to give in to new cravings. Sweets to the sweet had always been her motto, but what could be sweeter than Simon's delicious kisses? But would the handsome playboy agree to lead her into temptation? Next up by Janet Joyce, Controlling Interest. So this is another one from Silhouette. This is a Silhouette Desire novel. I won't read you the back of this one because it's not terribly interesting, but a good cover nevertheless. I do like the cover of this one. She looks, I don't know, she looks quite uncomfortable, that woman, doesn't she? She looks like she doesn't like the chap sneaking up behind her. So this is a Regency romance, Kitty by Marion Chesney, about lively Kitty Harrison. Okay, I've got a few of these cameo romances as well. So Tread Softly on Dreams by Brenda Gray. Looks reasonably good. Now this one's got a good cover. This has got a nice kind of a really nice vintagey looking cover. So this is Cotton Moon by Catherine Tracy, which sounds horrifically racist. So let me read you the back of this one. Jim Van Ord was a blonde brute of a man who'd stop at nothing to get what he wanted. When he found Ellen, he won her heart with a glance, her body with a touch. But he had to kill to possess her completely. His land bore heavy crops, harvested with the blood and sweat of his slaves. He knew no fear, for to him all black men were weak and only a strong man could hate. But he soon learned that every desperate man, white or black, is dangerous, that even his own wife wasn't safe, that too much hatred could plunge a nation into bloody war, that a man had more to lose than his life. Okay, this one looks a bit dull in comparison. Circle of Love by... Oh no, Circle of Love is obviously the series, so it's Gates of the Sun by Lucinda Day. This one is... Now, I do not know how to pronounce this surname. Barbara McCorkadale, who is better known as Barbara Cartland. So this is The Runaway Heart. So Barbara Cartland, obviously a hugely prolific author. I think considered to be one of the most prolific authors ever in terms of the number of books she published. I do not know why, and I will need to research why this was published as Barbara McCorkadale, however you pronounce it, rather than the much easier to pronounce Barbara Cartland. So yeah, if you know the answer to that question, please do let me know. So another one. This is from the Woman's Weekly, Images of Love. Two great stories. So it's got Fire Dance by Griselda Wilding and Bannerman's Empire by Jennifer Oakes. And look, you've got a nice picture on the back there of a happy woman reading an Images of Love romance. Apparently they are stories to make your heart beat just that little bit faster. Right, next up, another historical one by the looks of it. I don't know how you pronounce that. Leonors by Barbara Ferry Johnson. So this one doesn't look quite so much fun. Now I'm looking forward to this one. So this is Fenwick Houses by Catherine Cookson. So my granny was a huge fan of Catherine Cookson. So my paternal grandparents, my dad's parents, were both avid readers, and I think were really fundamental in establishing my love of reading for one reason in particular, and that is they read purely for pleasure. So whereas my parents are both big readers as well, they both read. So my dad reads a lot of kind of non-fiction and science stuff in particular, and my mum tries to read a lot of literary stuff and book club type stuff, and tries to improve herself through reading, which clearly I'm less keen on. Whereas my grandparents read purely for pleasure. They read in the same way that people nowadays watch TV. So my granny used to love Catherine Cookson, who writes these kind of period romantic novels about typically I think about working class women kind of making good, and their struggles in life and things like that. And my grandfather read, loved. He was, she was a stereotypically female reader, I guess you would say, where he read very male stuff. So, like Naval Adventures and Alistair MacLean and Clive Cussler and people like that. So their love of reading purely for pleasure was really important to me growing up, I think. Right, moving on then. I've got a couple of these slightly bigger ones from Troubadour, which both look like sort of exotic historic romances. So we have Winds of Desire by Marilyn Granbeck, which looks to be set in the desert, and Dawn of Desire by Joyce Verrett, which looks to be set kind of in Arabia or something like that. I think it's set in Egypt actually. Anyway, they both look good. Actually, the blurb on this one's great. Their story came to us across the centuries, the immortal saga of a love which begins in the dawn of time by the burning shores of the River Nile. She came from a far-off kingdom, beautiful Princess Nefertanin, destined bride of a powerful king's son. Instead of a convenient marriage, she found a passionate love, and he a woman he could never forget. But already the clouds of war were gathering that would tear their love apart and take Nefertatin, I do not know how to pronounce her name, would take her into terror and captivity. So that looks pretty damn good. Next up, so this is a series, not really a romance, I don't think, but certainly, what would be considered women's fiction that I was aware of from having seen loads of copies of these in charity shops growing up. So this is Sue Barton, District Nurse. I think there was a TV show of Sue Barton at some point, by Helen Dorr Boylston. So this is the first in a, I think, reasonably long-running series of novels about nursing, and it claims on the front to be the most popular fiction series ever written about the nursing world. So this is Sue Barton, nurse, starting out her career as a nurse. We have a very, very slight one here, so I might definitely try to read this at some point. Although the print's tiny. This is The Narrow Bridge by Kay Winchester, which looks, I don't know, there's a couple on the front who look just really bored with each other. So, yeah, we'll see what that one's like. This one's got a good title and a fantastic cover, Blood and Passion, by Jeffrey M. something. Jeffrey M. Wallman, and it says on the front, the tempestuous adventures of the beauty all men desired, but no man could tame. That looks pretty good. Now this one has possibly my favourite cover of all of these, both because it's actually quite well executed, but also because it's just so cheesy. So it is a man and a woman clinched on some sort of yacht, him with a fantastically luxuriant moustache and her in wonderfully chunky knitwear. So this one looks quite interesting. So the woman in this one, by the sound of it, is the victim of domestic abuse, and finds love again with this lovely mustachioed hunk. Right, next up, Holiday Hostess by Ivy McKnight. This is quite an entertaining blurb, so let me read you the back of this one. Emma worked as a courier for a package tour company, and one of the rules was, don't be too friendly with male customers. It sounded easy enough in such a busy job, but somehow on the sun-drenched Adriatic coast it didn't seem easy at all. What with persistent and likeable Paul, who wanted romantic dates, and handsome bad-tempered Ian, who wanted someone to run errands, Emma found her hands full and her heart in confusion. You English are so cold, said the hotel manager, but for Emma that summer was far too hot, in more ways than one. So that does look good. Right, we've got another ecstasy romance here, Legacy of Love. Now this does look very raunchy, because look, her top is almost coming off. So that is very, very rude indeed. And apparently she is a hot-blooded hellion, according to the back, so that's got to be good. This one, the cover is awful, and it looks like it's about bird watchers as well. It's called On the Wings of Love by Emma Woodhouse. And it's set in the Suffolk Marshes, which is a lovely part of the world, but I'm not sure how interesting it will be. Now this is another fantastic cover, in that the man is so dark-haired and brooding, and the girl is so kind of winsome and blonde. And it sounds quite dodgy from the back as well, so let me read you the back. Sorry, this is And When Love Speaks by Valentine. So the back says, Geoffrey Lancaster's friends had come to regard the wealthy owner of Magnolia Cottage as a confirmed bachelor. Having reached the age of 30, he seemed quite contented with his lovely house and garden, presided over by his motherly housekeeper and his faithful dog Rufus. And then suddenly his old friend Peter Hastings was killed, and Geoffrey found himself part trustee and guardian of Peter's lovely 17-year-old daughter. Gradually, Geoffrey realised he was hopelessly in love with Deirdre, and his whole outlook on life changed as he experienced not only the happiness, but also the trials and uncertainties that love can bring. So basically, it's about a man falling in love with his teenage adoptive daughter. Okay, moving on then. Oh, my goodness, this is the last one. I got through the romance ones more quickly than expected. So this is Food for Love by Layla McKinley, which is set in Ireland. And actually the back of this one's quite entertaining as well. So let me read you this. Whilst on holiday in Ireland with her young friend Gillian Leckmere, 35-year-old Ira Sheem, again, he's got names I can't pronounce. Ira Sheem hears a young tenor sing and is tremendously stirred by his voice. But when she asked him if he would be interested in a musical career, the young Welshman, Derry Reese, tells her he is a miner. And by that we mean someone who goes in the ground to dig coal rather than a young person. On the way home, Ira, who is head of Sherms Enterprises Limited, and then in brackets, theatrical copyright holders, close brackets, calls Gareg Wen and tries once more to persuade him, and again fails. But the mine closes down, and Derry eventually accepts her offer of financial help to train his voice, a decision which has far-reaching results. I'm going to guess that those results involve the miner and the, whatever she is, the agent, getting it on. I reckon that's what happens in this book. So, that was a lot of trash. I've actually got a sore throat now from going through all of that trash. And I need to pack all of it away and get back to work for my next meeting. But yes, hopefully you enjoyed that tour through romantic and non-romantic trash. As always, let me know if you've read any of these books. I kind of hope you haven't, apart perhaps from some of the ones in the first section. So yeah, let me know if you read any of these. And if you haven't, let me know if you fancy any of them. I would say, so I said I'm going to give the Tarnsman of Gore book away in a giveaway. I will give some of these romance books away in giveaways as well. And I have something I'm expecting to come in the post fairly soon, which will form part of the giveaways I do during Gulf August. I will reveal it soon. It's something extra special, which I hope people will like. But yeah, I'm planning to do some little packs of 1 or 2 trashy books with this extra thing in as well, which I will be sending out to some people during Gulf August. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that. As always, hope you're safe and well. Hope you're reading good stuff, and I will speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.